I have gone to a completely different direction than the SEO in the beginning. Basically, I'm master in law, so that was my first choice when I like starting my career. But during the studies, I discovered that that's not exactly what I wanted to do. When I really learned how this job is being done in Poland, so that's I make a switch, and I started to interest in coding in IT, and I go to the tech company called 11, which were doing well, they still do the payments. And basically, I help them with some kind of managing their internal communication platform for some time. And that's where I firstly use SCMS to post the content on the website, which was very cool for me. And it was mind-blowing because I never thought it was so easy. Uh, I always my well, how I imagined that before I started working on tools, that you need to code everything like in JavaScript, HTML, or whatever. And I didn't imagine that there are like simple tools and you can just type something and it's there. So it opened my mind, and I have gone to that direction. And my second job was much more oriented to IT and to creating a website and managing a website. Because I was like a product owner in a startup, and the product was a catalog of the personal trainers in Poland.
Oh,
My responsibilities were to promote it, to fill with content, to manage like some basic customer service thing, because I was one man army and doing work for like 3 or 4 people or something like that. But it was cool. I learned a lot. In the meantime, I also learn C# and JavaScript a bit. I started coding myself because that was something I didn't learn previously, and I thought it would be good for me to know how it works from the back end, from the technical engineering perspective. And yeah, I even make some very simple apps back there. It was like 8 years ago, 8 years ago, something like that. So pretty long time. And yeah, and I continued that path for till today. So in the middle of the road, I got bigger organizations like one marketing company from Asia, one bank, one software house. So yeah, and now I'm here.
that's awesome.
So that's very short version how
No,
it happened.
that's cool. You've had an interesting journey where you didn't maybe start out in the traditional role of like SEO and website management, but you kind of worked your way towards that path just by chance in a way. So that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So that's how it goes.
Very cool. I mean, so like when you kind of first started then, what was like your first misconception then kind of about um
hmm
understanding like SEO and kind of things like that? Was it more like, oh, I just need to take a few keywords and plug that in, I'm good to go? But because there's way more to it than that, for sure.
Yeah, it is. Actually, well, one of the good informations how the search engine works are the leaks of the companies that have the search engines, like the
Oh yeah.
Yandex 2 years ago, Google last year, or some Bing last year and 3 years ago, I guess. Yeah, there were some of those, and they basically point usually the kind of different ranking factors that the search engine takes to put the rankings for the keywords. But they have one common thing that the factors are hundreds or even thousands
Oh,
of them. So basically, there are so many factors, and they interact with each other, so they make a combination. So it's pretty complicated. That's the one thing. And the other thing, which you can deduct from it, is that the brand strength and basically the organization strength that is publishing the content is one of the most important factors. So basically, if you're a bigger player, you have big advantage. If you're a small player how do you call it, startups, yeah, then you have like much tougher way to go, and you need some backup because if you are a startup with a huge backup, well, for example, you have like a big company behind you, it's good because you can have some start ahead, but if you don't, it's a tough way to go. So that's why some people say SEO is dead, because for smaller players, it is kinda. So that's basically how it happens in the last few years, because it wasn't never that way. When I started, it was possible for a startup to reach some visibility, gain some traffic, and have some sales and conversions from it. But now it's nearly impossible. So that's what changes the most.
Oh,
Well,
that's
from my observation, of course.
yeah, no, of course. I mean, you're the one who's kind of like, managing that and helping us out in terms of like content we make, ensuring that it actually stays relevant and optimized for people to find on the
Mhm.
website. I mean, what's, I guess, one thing then that you try to do to make sure that like for like our team, like the DevRel team, when we're like writing
Yeah.
blogs, or even the product teams when we're writing blogs, how do we make sure that the content we write is relevant? Because even if we write an interesting topic, if it doesn't have the relevancy for other people to find it, it's going to be tough, to help improve, that index score like you had mentioned before.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a very good question actually. Yeah, it's basically it need to be tested. If
Mhm.
you publish content and it's instantly getting some visibility, it's, for example, it gets ranked for 10 keywords, uh, whatever the positions are, but the keywords are there and you have some visibility. That's very good because for most of the content that's being published on the web and they're trying to get it indexed, uh, it never shows in indexation for any keywords. That's like 90% 90% of cases. So here at PubNub, we have success rates around 70 to 80%. So just 20 to 10 to 20% of our content have problems with indexation and some initial visibility. So if the content doesn't have this problem, it means that you're relevant, the content is in good shape, is high quality, and what can be done to improve it, it's just some small adjustments. Let's say keeping it up to date. So if some information changes, some technology changes, some names changes, keep that content updated. So one of my main activities recently is updating the content because we have like tons and tons of content,
Yeah.
and there are many, many, many pages.
Yes, there
Like
are.
on my plate, there's like 1,200 of pages indexable. So, and from my short list is 100 something, so it's not that short at all.
That's a long list. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm keeping that updated, especially the short list, because frequency of the updates is one of the ranking factors as well.
Oh,
So if you got because it's like shows the search engine that you care about this content, you want to keep it relevant even though it's been published for 2 years or 3 years, it's still relevant. And if you see that on the competitors, for example, the best performing content is always like freshly updated. So it's updated like in a weeks or months maximum. It's no longer usually for competitive keywords. Because if you have like some very long tail keywords, low interest keywords, it can be different, and it's not required to update that content so frequently. But for more interesting keywords where the competition is higher, the frequency of the updates is very important.
Yeah,
So
that's really cool. I mean, it's one of those things where even myself, or when I write content, you mentioned like updating like the long tail keywords, short tail keywords, and the frequency of updates. How often do you think you recommend teams to do that? To actually go back and update? Because like I think for me, I'm always used to writing a blog and then leaving it unless it gets so out of date, like the SDK version changes or something like that. How
mhm.
often do you recommend updating that or going through and kind of changing those
Uh,
things?
That depends of the difficulty of the keywords that the content is aiming to. So for more difficult keywords, I would say it's one per month.
Once per
It's
month?
yeah, once per month. For less, well, say average is one per quarter, and for low difficulty keywords, one per year is okay.
Okay.
So basically that's the benchmarks, but of course there are fluctuations from it.
Right. So it's not one of those things where it's like, okay, Oliver, you got to go update your blog once a week now or something like that to change things.
Yeah, and of course, it's also important how big the scope of the change is. So if you just change like the interpunction and put a dot here, comma there, it's like not enough.
Yeah, exactly.
You need to have some impact on the contents. And for example, the Ahrefs is tracking that, and you can see per page how frequently the content is being updated and what's the scale of the changes. So they have like the small changes, moderate, and overhaul changes categories, for example. So the tools can show it to us how often the content is being updated, and there is a correlation between frequency and the rankings.
No, that's really cool. I actually didn't know about the frequency in the past because I always thought it was, once you update it, you're done and then move on to like the next thing and then maybe like
Mm.
a year later go back and update it again. But I didn't know it just depended on, the the keywords themselves. So that's great to know. Thank you. That helps for my content because I think you've helped improve our content a lot here at PubNub in terms of, for example, I think one thing for me was the URL slugs. You've probably had to go through and update many of my blogs that I've created.
Probably.
Yeah, shortening the URLs, or telling me like, hey Oliver, you got to make sure those things are short and relevant. So no, that was one key thing I remember that you taught us. I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I do that from now on. So
Yeah, it's kind of important because the URL slug is one of those variables you can't change easily because you need to redirect, and redirect is actually an interesting topic in SEO. Kind of reset your indexation, so
oh
it's
really?
like refreshing indexation, let's say. So if you migrate the address of your URL, you're like losing visibility for a moment, and then it's restored in a refreshed way. So it could be lower or higher, and you cannot tell always how it will be. And sometimes especially when the redirection is not done properly. So for example, you make a permanent change, but your redirection code says it's temporary. You can like kill your traffic and it like cut half of your traffic and half
Wow.
of the visibility through that. So it's kind of dangerous to do, and it's like
Yeah.
last resort. So we don't do this unless it's really necessary.
So is that like where if like the URL is like either bad or it's just so unoptimized, it's like maybe like such a long
URL
time.
is, for example, well, itself, URL is one of the factors. It's not most important one.
Okay.
The most important factor from like technical perspective is the title, the page title.
Oh,
That's the most important, and usually the biggest focus should be on this. And URL is like I would say third factor behind the overall of the contents. Still important.
yeah.
So in my career here he is like page title, page content, and then URL Slack, then description, social tags, and overall how fast the websites uh, render into the browser. From technical, that's more or less how I imagine that, and it's still in total ranking factors. It's like 10% because 90% is the brand and
Wow.
backlink
Okay.
and domain.
Yeah,
And and those factors you have like, let's say, less control than the simple publication.
that makes sense.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
more or less.
Yeah, I didn't even think about the title being the most important because in my mind I always thought it was like the URL was the most important, and then like
Mm.
then the in terms of relevancy, and then the content. So great to know for the future. So I have been following your guide that you presented to us to try to follow more. So thank you for that, by the way.
No problem.
That helped a
Cool.
lot. So very cool. So you did mention, talking about kind of some of the struggles in terms of SEO, and especially for like smaller startup companies.
Yes.
Um, I mean, has AI affected that in terms of causing these problems? Has it helped? I mean, kind of what are your thoughts in terms of like AI in the industry? Because you could go to
Mhm.
like ChatGPT and ask, give me some keywords. I don't know if that actually is relevant or not. It probably is not. It might a little bit. But in terms of someone who actually monitors this on, like a daily basis, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the large language models revolutionize the market of the SEO and the content creation because they accelerate and increase the quality of the content in the same time.
Hmm.
So there is more content being produced and it's basically better on average. So that's a huge change because it makes the market more competitive. So it's basically also making more difficult um, to like break the ceiling with your content because others have the good content too,
Yeah.
and it takes for more efforts to have something better, and that's why the custom images are getting more important, and the graphics and the diagrams and information visualization and animations and videos included in the content and other enrichments basically. So with those, you can increase number of positive factors that you create with your content and have advantage over the competitors.
Oh.
And that's one effect of the ChatGPT that and other language models that got released. And the other one is AI overviews are increasing their visibility in Google. So basically, the search results got this AI overview snippets just behind, well, on first position behind the search bar. And it's like pushing all the uh, this typical SEO results lower on the page, so decreasing visibility of those. So we are experiencing that effect now in PubNub a lot because our visibility in terms of impressions is growing all the time, but our number of clicks is reducing because the Google is pushing uh, above the search results, organic search results, the
Mm.
AI overview with the references, with additional links, and it's basically dissolving. Well, our link got dissolved in the other links that got put it into the results thanks to AI overviews and other snippets, and that's being generated, like the product listings and other. So that's what's causing the click-through rate going down from the search results, and that's something I struggle every day for
Yeah.
some time now. So you might hear that from me again.
Yeah, I was about to say that
You
probably
ever-
really is a big struggle in terms of like making
Yeah,
sure that
yeah,
it does, the click-through rate. So
yeah, it is. The Google goal is to don't redirect the user to any of the results, but just keep him in the google.com
yeah.
instead. So, and they're doing a good job in that.
Yeah.
So
So it's interesting. Like it's both like AI is both helpful. It's changed the game, it sounds like,
Hmm.
of SEO, but it also has made other problems in terms of not quite leveling the
Yeah.
field. So it's interesting how it creates problems, but it also causes more problems as well. So
Yeah, it's solving some of my problems, yeah,
yeah.
but in that time it's like this, how you call that creature, the Hydra, the
Yeah,
cat
yeah, there we go.
one-headed who has two other, yeah,
Yeah.
that's something like
Two
that.
more pop out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I have this feeling like from like 8 years, but it's also making it kind of interesting, you know?
Yeah, that's no, that's cool. I didn't know. I always like to ask that question, and it's just the big topic right now, AI, everything. But especially for people
Mm,
who are industry professionals, I always like to ask that question in terms of how does it affect your job in terms of or your career, or how do you see it affecting? So no, that's fantastic. I wasn't actually quite sure what you would answer, so thank you for talking about that. So
glad to surprise you.
yeah, no, it was a great
I guess
surprise.
it's not an easy thing to do, so.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, I think we're kind of getting a little bit closer towards the ends.
Mhm.
And a question I always like to ask as well is what, maybe people wouldn't follow your same career path, but perhaps what is one piece of advice that you would give to people who would like to try to get more into SEO and website management, or even maybe not like fully get into the path itself, but maybe learn more about it to help improve their own websites and their own content?
Mhm. I would say experiments. Have your own websites, or whatever safe space in the web that you can experiment and try different things, because uh, for example, different approaches can sometimes be uh, surprisingly effective. So I once in my career I stumbled upon the solution of rolling back to old UI on the website because it was performing better and it was like big difference and it was like more old school, but somehow both users and crawlers like it. And with
Interesting.
there were there were two new versions tested. Both were like failing
Oh,
in
uh-oh.
terms of performance. Yeah, and they, well, with my suggestion, not only mine, but well, I was one of the voices to roll back to the original version. And when they do this, everything restores. But it was like 7 years ago, so it's not relevant anymore. But it shows that sometimes uh, experiments fall, for example, and something that you have your like feeling, the gut feeling that it will be better, it's not. So always check the data and confirm if your hypotheses are confirmed or not, because this is like the most important thing. We are experimenting all the time and we cannot be sure of the results. So it's kind of like in science. So
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's
that would
interesting.
be my advice.
Yeah. That must be devastating to the engineers who, maybe not devastating, but disheartening for the engineers who work on the UI and they're like, what do you mean we got to roll it back? It's not doing better. But overall, for the health of the company, yeah, that sounds like a fantastic way to kind of go about it for
Yeah,
sure.
that's just an example, because the modernizations we do in PubNub, like updating the docs or updating the solutions pages to new designs, they perform in the very similar or slightly better way.
Oh,
So it's they get like received positively by the search engines so
okay,
far.
that's good.
So the direction we are going as a company is a correct one, but we always need to be, caution and keep criticism, because SEO is about criticizing the content, the website, and thinking how can we improve it and how can make it better. And you cannot do that without being a critic.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's great advice where you have to criticize your own content, otherwise it's not going to grow and get
Yeah,
better for sure. Awesome.
yes, yes.
Very cool. Well, I guess kind of to wrap up, what would be one key, like if people, stopped listening to us for a while, what's one key takeaway that you would like for your viewer, like kind of the viewers watching and listeners to kind of remember from this conversation?
Mhm. I would say it's good to keep your content fresh
Mhm.
and coming back to it from time to time in a fresh mind, or show it to somebody with who can like criticize for it for you and point some strength fields where you can even improve. So that would be my advice, and it works for me. From time to time, I'm showing some of the contents I struggle the most to my colleagues, and I got some good advices from time to time from them. So I'm keep using that.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, yeah, Tomasz, I just wanted to say thank you so much for chatting with me today, and perhaps maybe where could listeners, if they'd like to connect with you, where could they perhaps find you?
Well, I have a LinkedIn profile. I sent you
Okay.
a link over so you can add it to your podcast. No
For sure.
worries.
Yeah, I'll have that on the screen right here so people can connect with you if they'd like to. So, yeah, I just wanted to say thanks again so much for chatting with you. It was interesting chat. There's things that, I only dabble a little bit in SEO. So everything else is a guide that I follow through you. So, thank you so much.
Cool, no problem. My pleasure.